Hey losers, it's the Crow, formerly known as Piper Sweeney. Today's video starts with a legal disclaimer. Most of my best ones do though. Everything I say in this video is my opinion, and strictly my opinion. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Any images used in this video are for the purpose of commentary or criticism. Of all the video topics I could be talking about today, I never expected it would be on anything remotely related to any Kardashian, but here we are. Because they are allegedly doing everything in their power to erase an unretouched candid pool photo from the internet, going so far as to use legal threats against people who repost it, allegedly. And it made me reflect on the way Kris has been treating Khloe all these years for not meeting a certain beauty standard, and how this same beauty standard has permeated our culture and lined their pockets at our expense. For those of you who don't know what the hell is going on here, just need a recap to contextualize Khloe's life. Here's an overview from someone who's seen maybe 2.5 episodes worth of runtime of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I was held captive by my cousin. It was painful to watch because the only ones I could see myself having a beer with were Rob and Khloe. This is Kim Kardashian, the woman who used to clean Paris Hilton's closet. She was mostly just known as Paris's friend and stylist, featured in Paris's show, The Simple Life, which ended in 2006 until she got a lot of media attention because of a legal battle related to a sex tape that got leaked in 2007. After trying to suppress the tape in court, she turned lemons into lemonades and used it to promote her upcoming reality TV show that was already in the works. Secured by Kris, I think. And I say all this because there's some urban legend that Kim Kardashian is a business genius who came from nothing but a sex tape which she immediately capitalized on, and that's just not true. Said show, which was quick to take advantage of the sex tape drama, centered mainly around Kim's family and all the supposedly real and not at all scripted, edited, or pre-planned shenanigans they got into. Features Kim's mother Kris, and Kim's sisters and half-sisters, all related through her mother. The sisters are Kendall, Kourtney, and Kylie, and the woman I'll be talking about today, Khloe. The show also features appearances from their brother Rob, and from whomever the girls are romantically involved with at the time, but for the most part, the show followed the girls. There was also apparently this guy named Brody, but I didn't even know he existed until 2 seconds ago when I googled Keeping Up with the Kardashians cast to figure out Kendall's name, because I thought Kendall and Kourtney were the same person until I saw them standing next to each other, which just shows how little I give a fuck about this show, seeing as how they don't even look related, let alone like the same person, but whatever.
They really walked away. Okay, I'll just keep talking to myself. My sisters walk away from me when I'm talking 24/7. Do you think I should get this thing or no? Yeah.
The title, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, serves to remind everyone that they are better than you, and you need to be more like them, and you need to keep up with them. Just kidding, rhetorical question, we all know you can't, because who are you if you haven't gotten enormous butt implants and then filmed a whole subplot on your TV show where you set out to prove your butt is 100% fat, muscle, and flesh with a bogus x-ray.
There are implants that don't show up on x-rays, so this proves nothing.
The family is known for getting plastic surgeries and being selective about which ones they admit to getting, often to the detriment of their fans. For those of you who remember the Kylie Jenner lip challenge, which left some Kylie fans permanently disfigured, and only then did she step in and say, "Oh, yeah, I got surgery, sorry." Or maybe you just remember the last time you scrolled through Instagram and felt bad about yourself because your hips aren't wider than your shoulders. Through plastic surgery, excessive Photoshop, and egregious gaslighting, they have built a billion-dollar empire funded through the low self-esteem and gullibility of their fan base. They're not better than you, they're just faking it until they make it, knowing full well that they will never make it. And if billionaires can't make it, how cruel is it that they put this pressure on the average woman to make it? Don't fall into the trap. Anyway, so now to Khloe Kardashian. Khloe was seen as the ugly one for years because she looked less like a sex robot and more like someone you would actually maybe want to have brunch with or even start a family with. She was never really valued because of the impossible standards she was held to, which is a shame because I don't think they really understood how much Khloe brought to the show. She pretty much carried it on her shoulders, in my opinion. Out of all the girls, She was the only one who didn't make me want to douse myself in gasoline, and all my friends felt the same way. In some ways, it was like she was a stand-in for the audience because she was so much more relatable. Not because of how she looked, but because her insecurities were relatable, because the show made us feel ugly too. But instead of getting as much plastic surgery as her sisters, she tried to love herself as she was. She was more down to earth, and it's unsurprising that she was voted the favorite Kardashian sister among audiences. After all, she was a foil for her mother and her sisters, who were all universally fake and unbearable. Meanwhile, her mother, Kris, fat-shamed her and accused her of damaging the brand. So, with her being a stand-in, albeit unintentionally, and her getting pressured on the show to do something about her horribly average appearance, the average audience member felt bad too. The average audience member had to go out and buy the Kylie lip kit and the Kim Kardashian West fragrance, and do everything they could to look like a Kardashian Jenner. In reality, the only way to look like Kim on your budget is to skip out on the surgeries, go on Fiverr, and find someone to Photoshop your selfies. Loophole. Anyway, over time, after all the pressure from her family over the years, she finally seemed to hit her breaking point and become one of them. So for her TV show, The Revenge Body, she finally gets her glow up after her divorce from Lamar, which would be fine if it were entirely 100% her choice and not the result of years of Kris's brainwashing, fat shaming, and comparing her to her other daughters. I personally consider Kris to be a, how do I say this without getting sued, an abusive parent in my opinion, from my perspective, allegedly, through my personal definition of abuse, whatever. I know this will sound far-fetched to some people, or just a bold claim to others, but anyway, hear me out. I've seen countless articles about the show alleging Khloe is being unjustly rude to Kris throughout, especially the earlier seasons, even though she's comparatively sweeter than her sisters, making it a little out of character for her. And instead of considering that there's a reason Khloe is so mean to Kris, people just think Khloe is rude for no reason, maybe some kind of a running gag. All Khloe said about it, to my knowledge, is that she had some teenage issues to work through. Well, we all know she chose her dad up until his death, and I'm thinking there was a reason for it. People gave Khloe flack for all the rude one-liners she fired at Kris, but if you look under the surface, she doesn't do it at random times. Now, I'm getting a lot of this information just reading about people's reactions, but anyway, it looks to me like she's doing it when one of her siblings get some kind of favoritism that Khloe feels she wouldn't get, or some kind of empathy or care from their mother that she does not get. Like, for example, Kris getting Rob an internship, or Kris being upset when Kim is diagnosed with psoriasis. Perhaps Khloe isn't a mean-spirited person. Perhaps there is a reason for her lashing out. Maybe like, oh, I don't know, being treated like the ugly duckling on national television. And probably plenty of times behind the scenes as well. She addresses this in a December 2020 tweet where she says, ... I'm not proud of is how I used to talk to my mom. Obviously, we had some teenage issues we had to work through. On camera, it's tough to go through that stuff publicly. Now, I want you to engage in a little thought experiment with me. How would you like it if your mom was your manager, aka momager? If she controlled every aspect of your life like that, if she raised you but failed to groom you into what she wanted for the show but was still actively trying to get you there. I am willing to bet that even if you had a great relationship with your mom, you shuddered at the very thought of this. Because even in a healthy relationship, the power dynamic is way off. Like, the very idea of a momager is already bad, because a manager is supposed to work for you, but in a momager-client relationship, the mom has the power. So, when this same mom, who brainwashed Khloe into thinking she's fat and ugly, became her momager and said things to her like, you're damaging the brand, and then all of a sudden, Khloe is getting a TV show called Revenge Body after her husband leaves her, am I supposed to be thinking that Kris said something to her like, oh, poor you, Lamar was a dick, you deserve so much better, sweetie, you're beautiful just the way you are? Probably not. I think everyone in the world would pass out if Kris said that. It would open a fissure and the whole universe would just be swallowed into it. And remember, and as much as I hate bringing this up, Khloe's father, the one she chose to live with when her parents divorced, died when Khloe was young. So her momager is the only thing she's got left after her husband has left her. And what I'm assuming happened, mostly intuitively, is that Khloe was in a vulnerable point at her life and she needed approval from someone, which led her to become one of them. To be fair, I still respect Khloe more than her mother, but I'm concerned, to say the least. I'm a very plastic surgery positive person when it's done well and for the right reasons. However, I have a hunch that she has body dysmorphia. A little more on that later. And if it's correct, then she needed therapy and a social media detox, not for her momager to get her some TV show where she glows up. Because she has a lot of influence, and she is not in the right mental place to have all that influence. Now, in my opinion, most of the surgeries she got are flattering for her face and body. Some of them seemed very unnecessary to me, but, she worked hard in the gym. She looks good. I'm not here to hate on her appearance. Quite the opposite. I've always thought Khloe was a beautiful woman. But what scares me is that even after all this work on herself, which is an expensive option far out of reach for the average woman, Khloe is still unsatisfied with her appearance. She still feels like the fat sister, even though, I wouldn't have considered her fat before, but she's definitely not fat now. Which brings us to our current issue, the swimsuit photo. Recently, someone on Khloe's team accidentally posted a candid pull photo of Khloe, and she looks amazing. But not good enough, apparently, because Khloe freaked the out when this image was posted. So we've been told by a Kardashian representative or something, allegedly. And she and her family have done everything in their power to get the image removed from the internet. Why? Because it's not heavily photoshopped to the point where it no longer resembles Khloe, but the person Kris wishes Khloe was. Barf. Excuse me. So I'm sorry, but FKA Piper Sweeney from the future here. I can't believe my mouth made that noise. Can we get a replay on that? What the f***? Okay, anyway, continuing. And they're claiming that this picture does not accurately resemble the real Khloe because of bad lighting. Listen, bad lighting my ass. Plenty of women would love to look like Khloe does here in any lighting. But we wouldn't want to damage the brand by not making young girls feel bad about themselves, would we? Shit like this, it just proves that Khloe will never be good enough to meet Kris's standard. Because this should worry the hell out of Kris. She should be terrified for her daughter's mental well-being, not encouraging this sort of behavior by trying to get the picture removed. It's very fishy and disturbing to me. But anyway, long story short, the Kardashians failed because of something called the Streisand effect, which I'll explain in another video if there's viewer interest. But anyway, the photograph went viral because of the Streisand effect. Because although the photograph is strikingly beautiful, it shows just how much Khloe's photographs are photoshopped. Now, most of us knew they were heavily photoshopped. It was more of an open secret. But still, seeing that raw, unedited image, it was jarring for a lot of people. This puts a bad taste in people's mouths for many reasons. First of all, there's the obvious observation of how this is unhealthy for young girls. The Kardashians have been known to use their bodies, acquired through surgery and Photoshop, mostly Photoshop, to sell things like appetite suppressants and fit teas, some of which have not been approved by the FDA. My biggest problem with this is it's been paired with this show where she's supposedly glowing up inside and out, when in reality she seems less authentic than ever. Again, she used to be the relatable sister that everyone loved, kind of a foil or an audience insert. So she goes through this transformation as painted off is better off for it, when in reality everything you see is heavily photoshopped. The whole glow up was a lie, and that's what this shows. This exposes that the real Khloe is still very insecure, a product of her mother's mistreatment, in my opinion. Changing her outside appearance did not magically erase years of trauma. Who would have guessed? You know what would have really helped Khloe? If she had worked out her issues with a therapist. Not on TV, with a show probably her momager got for her. She's not healing. She's not glowing up. She's morphing herself into what her mother made her feel like she has to be. I'm not sorry for saying this, but what you are seeing is not a glow up or any kind of a positive transformation. It's the years of cruel insults and being othered by the woman who should be taking care of her. Before I address counterparts to my arguments, Khloe's live stream, and more, let's give a few minutes for today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community, and I've been a user since long before they offered me a brand deal. There is no better place for lifelong learners who enjoy picking up new skills. Members will receive unlimited access to thousands of classes with topics ranging from the arts to business to even the new age. It's a great place to further a skill you've already started or get your feet wet in a new one. It's just the perfect place for your creativity, and with no ads to obstruct your experience and new transcript features, it's easier than ever to learn on Skillshare, and it's cheaper than art school will ever be, at less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. I decided I wanted to get back into traditional art because I used to be really good at this shit, and so I took Gabrielle Brickey's class, Start Drawing, Techniques for Pencil Portraits. Gabrielle takes it from the beginning, making it an excellent review for me and also a wonderful class for beginners. She also introduced me to something I'd never considered using before called a tortillion. Being new to tortillions, I decided, if I'm even pronouncing that right, sorry, I decided to put Gabrielle's advice to the test for this drawing of musical artist Lucy Loon. At first I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but it helped me keep the large areas of my drawing smooth so the shading didn't look so chunky over top of it, and it helped me blend the hair out in the end because I failed to accurately depict Lucy's hair texture. I shouldn't have picked such a grainy photo, but live and learn. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free trial of premium membership so you can explore your creativity. I'm a teacher on there too, so go ahead, give me a follow. I plan on making new classes when I'm done with the brand deal, and hopefully making over the one I have up now because it's horrendous. Hope to see you there. So I was actually introduced to this story from Philip DeFranco, and he shared this out-of-touch tweet from Holly Hagen as an example of someone defending Khloe, and I have opinions. First, I'll read the tweet.
It would be amazing if Khloe K could embrace that unedited image, but she was literally bullied her entire life for her body and looks, held against the beauty standards of her sisters. You made her not comfortable with her own body and face. You did this to her.
Ah, really? We did this to her? We set an impossible beauty standard that can only be achieved by a computer? We got ourselves an excessive amount of plastic surgery and claimed we were born this way? We endorsed bullshit diet products? We sold an illusory version of our lives and made it clear she didn't look the part? Put a bunch of pressure on her to change herself even though she was already beautiful because she still looked like a human being? We did these things and not her family? Even though Khloe is on record having stated that her family put a lot of pressure on her to look a certain way and she always fell short, even though her own mother fat-shamed her and accused her of damaging the brand? Listen, Hagen, I know you're a little biased, but everyone gets bullied on the internet, not just you and not just Khloe Kardashian. I got hate comments about my appearance the second I took off my mask. I wish I could go back in time and undo it, as a matter of fact, because unlike Khloe, I don't have the money to get my insecurities lasered off. Unlike Khloe, I don't Photoshop my pictures to the point where they no longer resemble me. And unlike Khloe, I'm not lying about how I achieved my appearance to trick my fans into buying fitness belts and shit. The reason she was bullied so intensely online for her looks was because the people around her, aka her family, were using every trick in the book to look picture perfect, and they set it as the standard. And because her family set that look as the standard on the reality TV show they roped her into, she looked out of place, and then said show introduces everyone else to this beauty standard, and they feel bad about themselves, so they either mock them out of jealousy or try to emulate them by buying their products. Now, I'm not defending the trolling, obviously, just explaining that this is a predictable social phenomenon with an obvious cause, aka Chris. Almost everyone gets bullied on the internet, and it sucks. It really does hurt, but most people, again, do not have the money to get their insecurities lasered off. The Kardashians do have that money, and how did they earn that money? Need I remind you? By profiting off of your insecurities. If you want to blame someone for what happened to Khloe, you need look no further than her own toxic family, the catalyst of all her pain. And I can tell it's a lot of pain, because if she still feels like the fat sister even after that confirmation that there's a high chance she has body dysmorphia. Obviously, I can't diagnose her, I don't know her, but from my perspective, that's what it looks like to me. And if I'm right, she didn't get body dysmorphia from trolls on the internet. She got that from childhood trauma. Trolls, like most bullies, focus on whatever insecurity someone has that's already there. Chris needs to be held accountable for her horrible parenting. Posts like this blaming the fans do not strike a chord with me in the slightest. They just seem very out of touch to me, because it completely disregards everything the Kardashians have done to us. And Khloe wasn't trolled before she was thrust into this spotlight under the thumb of her mother, which is probably the worst place for her to be. To act like all of this was just because of trolls on the internet, it's just bullshit. Now, I have seen the argument that the Kardashians are merely the products of a society that already had impossible standards. But I'm uninterested in seeing this family as victims when they are intentionally perpetuating and raising these standards to the nth degree. I remember a time before the Kardashians and beauty standards were not nearly as vicious as they are now. Making excuses for them diminishes the enormous harm they have done to the psyche of young girls who, unlike them, cannot afford tens of thousands of dollars regularly on plastic surgery, personal trainers, extensions, manicures, designer clothes, and a team to Photoshop all your selfies, etc., etc., etc. If they didn't have so much money, they'd all be just as ugly as they made Khloe feel all those years. And a part of me does feel sorry for Khloe for that exact reason, but now she's a part of the problem. She knows exactly what she's doing. As far as Kardashians go, I find her one of the more likable ones. But the fact that she was brainwashed by her mother doesn't change the enormity of what she's doing now. And although I do largely blame Kris for this, we can't act like Khloe is innocent when this stuff hurts people. She's trying to scrub the internet of a beautiful candid photo because it's not photoshopped to the point where it no longer resembles herself, but the character she pretends to be on social media. The Kris-approved character she pretends to be on social media, should I add. With all the effort she's gone through to hide this image, you'd think it would be horrible, but it's not. It's a gorgeous picture of her authentic self, but her authentic self is not good enough for Kris's family brand. Why? Because even after all the money Khloe spent on plastic surgery, even after all the hard work she did at the gym, she's still not good enough. None of the Kardashians are, not by their own standards that they set and enforce on others. Plastic surgery can only take them so far. They know they can't actually achieve those standards, but they won't tell you that. No, they'll pretend they're perfect so people buy their beauty products so they can be just like her. Meanwhile, she's not even like her. Then Khloe says that she should have every right to ask for it not to be shared, and I feel her pain, but the thing is, it's kinda too late now. The illusion has been shattered, and people are upset because they have been lied to, sold a false narrative, and I feel bad for Khloe, I really do. It's a shame that she feels this way. But that doesn't mean she's entitled to keep making other people feel this way. She's spreading her pain onto other people. Like, you get what I'm saying? To pressure young girls into glowing up so they can feel valued, when in reality change comes from within. And she knows this because she had her own so-called transformation, I'm sure. So Kris may be the villain behind the curtain and on stage alike, in my opinion. But Khloe is part of the problem now. They all are. And while I empathize with her, while I like her, I will not defend her actions because what she has been doing is wrong. Again, I like Khloe, but I do not like what Khloe is doing, not at all. Particularly because it's fairly obvious she has been using Photoshop and she has gotten surgery on her face and body, and she's trying to make it seem like she achieved this look mostly through shredding in the gym. And this sets an unrealistic expectation on women about what they can achieve through working out, and then they get discouraged when hours of doing squats, months, weeks, and they get discouraged when months of doing squats doesn't make their midsection migrate to their hip dips. I know this because that's basically what I was trying to achieve back in college, not knowing any better. Needless to say, it didn't work for me, and it hurts to see people claiming that it does. Now, I admit, I do have a slim, thick figure. That was like my third time trying to say that without tripping over it. That a lot of people envy. But I did not get that figure at the gym. I have not been to a gym in years. Like, I work out, but not at a gym. And I'm just so sick of this lie that you can go from having an average waist to hip ratio to being slim thick by working out. That I'm actually on the verge of making a video about all the shit I went through to look the way I do. but I'm afraid it would just make me feel uncomfortable, only for it to end up being a drop in the bucket and have no impact in the world. I don't know. Comment if you want it, I guess, and I'll decide from viewer interest if it's worth gutting myself to take a jab at the Kardashians' beauty standards. But anyway, she did do a live stream where she tried to prove that it was her natural body and that her images weren't insanely photoshopped. But really, all I'm seeing is the difference between flattering and unflattering lighting. More rather harsh and soft lighting. And probably filming in the morning before eating any large meals or anything that would make her waistline expand or bloat her. Even without Photoshop, this family knows all the tricks, and I really advise against trusting any of them, even Khloe now. They do not use the products they've been pushing, and I'm just fed up with their lies. If there's anything I want people to take away from this video, it's that the Kardashians and Jenners should not be put on a pedestal. They have a f***ed up, demanding mother that pushes them to strive for something beyond perfection, and ordinary people trying to emulate them are doomed for failure. And remember, at the end of the day, it was the real Khloe everyone liked and fell in love with, as opposed to her CGI sisters. I still have more to say, but this video is long. If enough people are interested, I will do a part 2. Thank you to my Patreon supporters for making this channel possible. Come join my Patreon for early videos, HDR exclusive vlogs, and more. That's it. Please rate, subscribe, and blessed be, motherfuckers.